I think a basis that you can create that you can always take with you and feel some sense of stability is to ask yourself principally how you want to be. Not so much a title on things like whether it's a career thing or even as a husband or a father, but even in those things, what principles do you want to emulate within those titles? Well, a runner, and then I'm a performance coach, and now a contractor, and then real estate, or who knows what it means to you to be disciplined, what it means to you to be balanced, to be respectful, to be accountable, because those things you can take with you in any context.
What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan Snaadt. It rhymes with odd, and you're listening and watching the Rhymes with Odd podcast. Today, we're joined with a special guest, drove all the way from Southeast Iowa, one of my high school classmates and one of my friends, Isaac Steffensmeier. Isaac, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Well, I know this is going to be a great conversation. We've talked a lot over the last couple of years since graduation, but
Sure.
Your journey is going to be super interesting to dig into because you went from high school athletics through your college days, becoming basically a sports psychologist, and now running a real estate and construction company. So this is going to be a really fun conversation, a really cool journey. So really happy that you're here.
Glad to be here.
Cool,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
So for the person on the street, you run into somebody at the bank or whatever, whenever you would talk to someone, how do you introduce yourself? Like, what do you tell people who you are and what you do?
I suppose I would say simplest form, just contractor, do remodels on homes.
Okay. You don't even touch on you don't say I'm a real estate investor.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's just kind of, behind the scenes, early work. So to say it, and then the reason I don't say it is because I don't really have a whole lot to expand on so to have a conversation with someone about it where they might be curious to learn more, it's be like, well, I'm early stages. So
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. I get that. I suppose it's you don't like, do I really want to have this conversation with
Sure. Yeah. That's
stranger?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll talk to some people, like we'll have serial entrepreneurs on that own like 7 or 8 businesses. And it's
Sure.
like, if you're in an Uber, what do you tell the driver? And they're like, just tell them, don't talk to me because I don't have time for this. So that's cool. So I think it'll be interesting too to kind of tie it all together. But before we do that, can you tell like just kind of I would say like what's your origin story? Like where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Sure.
And kind of how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Small town kid in a big family, coming from a big family. So my dad was one of 13, farmer family. And then my mom was one of 4. And they both grew up in small town kids, met small town, married. I'm the oldest of 5.
And we had your sister Rachel on months ago on the show.
Yep.
So if you were listening, and Steffensmeier, that's the same name. It's the same family. So
yeah, she's of relation.
Yep. You'll claim her sometimes.
Yeah, I'll claim her sometimes. She makes the family look good. So go Rachel.
Yep.
But I would say as far as origin goes, I would say family would probably be a pretty big part of my identity. I would just say it's just from uncles and aunts to grandparents to it just continues to, all of those things had a big impact, I guess, on how I live my life, I guess.
Sure. So in terms of like the impact, it sounds like family reunions are probably a big deal.
Yeah.
Or just like Christmas, or
Sure.
if you guys get with extended family.
Yeah.
What are some of those moments that stand out in your mind of like things that were or still are like big family things for you that make a big difference?
So I can remember, like on my dad's side, we, like for holidays, Thanksgivings, Christmases, even birthdays, we would get together at the house that they all grew up in, and it's this itty bitty 2-story family farm home. And like looking back on family videos or even just memories, it's like you're just in there like sardines, right? And everyone's just loud and laughing and like food everywhere. But there's like now me thinking of being in a spot like that with not, well, just in general is like, why would anyone ever like enjoy that or want? But like when I think back on that, it's just, I don't know, like we were totally comfortable being on top of each other and there was, just a lot of, I know everyone's got a different definition of the word love. It's very wide ranging, but just that's what I would say. A lot of love in those reunions, I guess. So
at what stage, how many people did you have to start doing offsite? Like we're renting out a back of a restaurant or
so
community center or something.
So actually, it would have been my dad's dad passing in. I'm not going to remember the date exactly. I want to say it was our middle school years, so like 2007 or so. So when he passed, and then when Grandma Tilly, his wife, got older up in age, and they no longer called that place home. That's where we started doing more off-site, like event centers and stuff like that, to be able to fit the amount of people.
Sure.
So
I connect with that because on my dad's side, it's the same way. Like I'm an only child, but my dad's one of 5, and his oldest brother Tim had 6.
Yep.
And 5 of those 6 had 2 or more kids. So like the family's like 70 people now. We used to the entire family would squeeze into my grandma's little dinky house in West Point. Like 700 square feet for like 50 people, like not fire safe. Like the house would kill everyone if it lit on fire. So so bad that the fridge is so full. You got to stick your beer in a snowdrift at Christmas because there's no room for it. Yeah.
Right.
So I totally connect with that.
Yeah.
So huge family. What was kind of the dynamics? Were you guys like music people, athletes? Like what was kind of the dynamic of the family?
So I mean, on my dad's side, we were gamers, like cards. Cards was a big thing. Grandpa Ernie would always be watching St. Louis Cardinals baseball. So that was passed down, to the kids and grandkids. Wrestling was huge on the Steffensmeier side. I was the one lone weird grandchildren
that played basketball.
Yeah.
With me. That's how we got to know each other.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, a big part of how we got to know each other.
What did Ben say when you're like, I want to play basketball? Like, what the hell's wrong with you, Isaac?
I mean,
probably put you in a chokehold, free on the ground. Like, we're going to tell you.
It might have helped that that mom was a bit of a basketball player in her day. But yeah, I mean, Dad never really pushed anything on any of us. It was kind of just whatever you do, just be. You don't have to be the best at it, right? Like you don't have to be the star of the team, but just do a good job. Like to your abilities, do a good job. So, so it was. No, the uncles gave me shit. They're like, I don't know what the hell you're doing basketball for, but I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I got more of my mother in me in that regard, but yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Because I know that's kind of when we crossed paths. I want to say it was like 4th or 5th grade and we started playing basketball. Because I remember Mom signed me up and I didn't really play a lot. And I'm like, I was so nervous that first day we met because you lived across the street from the gym where we played basketball. And I just remember like, okay, we're doing layup lines was the first thing. And I couldn't do a left-handed layup and I like didn't know how to do it. And I was so discouraged. I was like, I got to get out of here. And Jenny's like, it's okay. Like she kind of was like, she made me come back the next day, and I did better and better as it happened, too. So I can appreciate her for taking the time to be like, I know you feel like you just want to like go leave and never come back, but please don't do that. So, so it's a process. Because did you play a lot growing up since you were across the street from a gym that you could just go in and play? So 2001, so we would have been first grade. Hadn't known each other at that time, but we would have been first grade at the time, was when we actually moved when Mom and Dad built that home, and then we moved into it. Before, we lived up above the welding shop of my parents. But I mean, I would say basketball. I mean, I remember doing Y-ball vaguely. And I don't know what, maybe, I mean, I'm thinking back on like when I first started watching more. And I mean, Dad always had ESPN on. And so at first it was like, you roll your eyes like, Dad, I want to watch Dragon Ball Z or, whatever. But then it was kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of finding some interest in sports, right? You get older and instead of playing with action figures, you want to play with balls and gloves. And but yeah. No, I think that's really cool. Because the reason I'm hitting on all the sports stuff is because it played a huge part in your career path and as we kind of got going. Because I remember even when we were kids, we'd get together and play pickup in your backyard on the patio.
Yeah.
Or like some of the track kids get together, basketball, and get together and do a bunch of fun stuff. So it's definitely like I would say a big part of you when you were growing up.
For sure.
That's really cool. So let's move forward to like high school time.
Sure.
What were some of the sports that you fell into and the things that you enjoyed to do for extracurriculars?
So, previous to high school, so my mom and my aunt Megan, which I don't know if she would have taught you or not, Mrs. Cruzy. She was Richardson and you were Denmark. So
I was only at Richardson for kindergarten and first, and then I moved to Denmark in second.
Okay.
Second through fifth.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So Mrs. Cruzy, my aunt who teaches in the school system, she and my mom both were into running when I was in middle school. And I just remember there was a sweet corn race coming up in, like, I want to say 6th or 7th grade. And Mom was getting ready for that. And one day in the summer when I was, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade, she's like, hey, Isaac, I'm going to go on a run. Do you want to join? And I'm just sitting on the couch eating a banana, like, whatever, So I went out with her. Long story short, I ended up beating her on the run. It was just a 1 mile out, 1 mile back thing. And at the time, and even now, I was like, well, she's good at this. Like, she's a good runner. So I was like, well, shit. I mean, if I beat my mom, then I don't know. And I don't know, therein, like, ignited a little interest. So I was like, yeah, I'll do the race. I didn't go on runs from that time until the race, but did the race. That was what it was. And then from there, it was like that just led into something that I didn't think I would be doing, competitively in college. But so running, basketball, soccer, with running, cross country and track were the high school sports. Had some friends, Ryan Snaadt, who played football, Landon Doman. I guess Tim and Neck never did. Nagel did for his senior year, or whatever year that was. But I was always game for any sport, basically. But football specifically, I was like, I was very small in high school, so it was like, well, that's probably not the best thing for me in cross countries during that time. So anyway,
sure.
But basketball was always like what I wanted to continue to do. Allen Iverson was my role model basically through my teenage years, I guess. That was kind of the guy that I looked up to. But as you get closer and closer to, being done with high school, and
why am I not 7'5" yet? Just wait for that growth spurt to kick in.
Right. And like kind of things were becoming more apparent. Like, I was definitely a role player, like on our teams. Like, we had Nagel and Jonathan and Marcus and Miles Wenzine, who I would say were just, they were just better skilled, more of a threat. You and I think were defense and where do you need me to be, and I'll fill that role, right? So
do whatever I can to get on the floor type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So try to be a good teammate, more or less. So that's where basketball sat. So I was like, as much as I love the sport and would like to keep going with that, it is what it is. I enjoyed my time. But the running thing, I found some unplanned. I guess no one ever really planned success, but it wasn't meant to become something that I would think I would do at a college level.
Because what were your accolades in high school for cross country? Because you were first team all state. Did you guys go to state? What was that placing junior senior year?
So I had qualified for state 3 of the 4 years. As a team, we won conference all 4 years. I was conference champ 3 of 4 years. Second place my freshman year to my teammate Cody Hogue. Shout out to Cody. So in a right, you list all those accolades and holy shit, this guy, which, okay, humbly, thank you. But at the same time, I also realize we are competing in Southeast. So, it's just a perspective thing. Like
Sure.
in a small town, people can zone in and look pretty narrowly at something. When it's like you've got the rest of the state, and then you've got the rest of a region, and then you've got the rest of the country, and the rest of so like it just gets really. It's not to diminish anyone's accomplishments, but it's just to, I don't know, give perspective at times.
Well, and once you got to the college level, I'm sure these people come in that are like, I won state. And then you're like, you're slow as shit. Like, you cannot run very fast compared to the national
Exactly.
stage. Yeah.
And that was something going to college that was, just noticed or learned. Like, you have guys on the team who were state champions and, guys who maybe qualified for state but never finished high. And that guy was beating the state champion, right? 'Cause it's all relative in where you come from and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I would say I owe a lot of like anyone else. Your success is never just you, but I would owe a lot of my success and success in that's another word to has different definitions to it, but both as in an enjoyment sense and as the typical way you think of success, accolades and accomplishments to teammates and coaches. Mendez and Benner were huge. Best coaches I ever had. Another big impact. So, you're saying the evolution, I guess, of the story. So just having coaches like that, and I'm sure you had yours too, that were pretty instrumental in just, how you do things today.
Sure.
Not just professionally, but maybe personally and as a parent, as a friend, whatever. So
Sure. No, I love that. I think it's a big part of it too, because as we'll get into your story, like you got into some coaching after graduation and stuff like that. But I think it's interesting too. I remember another thing about our youth, which was always funny to me, was like you were so hell-bent on being as healthy as you could possibly be when we were kids.
Yeah.
We always joked you never ate chocolate or sweets or anything. And it was like, and all of our friends would always give you shit because you're like, they're like force feeding you food or like being like, you don't have to have an 8-pack, you bastard. Like people that are just projecting their insecurities, I suppose. But
sure.
at what point did you loosen the reins on that, or are you still really like stringent on like just the healthiest choices all the time and never really taking a cheat meal or having a beer or cake or anything like that?
Yeah. So I would say in that regard, like my fiance now, my time with her, she hears those stories, like when we went to Timonak's wedding and, we're just kind of reminiscing on stuff. And she like squints and looks over at me like, what? Because, she knows that I'm
health conscious.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
But she's like, you definitely have a sweet tooth. And I was like, oh, no, I 100% do. But, for every bit of middle school and high school, I was very... that damn health magazine in 5th grade or whatever, Mrs. Cooper's health class. I don't know what jogged something, but yeah, it just became I definitely played into, sports was a big thing. And so like getting your body and mind ready and that definitely played into, I think, the motivation to be disciplined in that regard. But yeah.
Sure. No, I think that's great. So moving into graduation of high school, I always joked like you got the most scholarships out of everyone in our class.
Sure.
Besides me, I was like one below you on all the numbers. I'm like, damn it. So where'd you go to college and did you decide to run in college?
Yeah. So I decided on Central College in Pella, Iowa. Ran cross country and track there. I guess I'll leave it there for now. So that's just continue on that.
Sure. Yeah, because I know I ended up going to Simpson, which is the nemesis of Central.
Yep.
What was something about going to college there that you didn't see before you got there? Like something that you weren't expecting when you got there?
I would say a big, two things pulled me to it. One, they had my area of study, exercise science. At the time in high school, it is kind of funny how, hey, what do you want to go to college for? What do you want to study? And you're, 18 years old. You just last week were asking permission if you could go to the bathroom or not. But exercise science, so I was thinking, well, I like to move. I'm a sports guy, whatever. Physical therapy was kind of the trajectory that I was thinking at that point in time, going from high school to college, to undergrad. And then the running aspect, what could be offered there. So it had both of those. When I met with Coach Dunham, my coach for my time at Central, I enjoyed that. Stayed with the guys on a campus visit and enjoyed the teammates. It just felt, I feel like it's cliche to say, but it felt like home, right? Like you just had a good, I don't know, feel when you were there compared to, because there were other schools that I visited that, on paper you write the pros and cons, and they might have on paper a better list or whatever. But it's like, well, there's just that feeling, thing to making decisions, intuition or whatever. So, yeah.
That's great. So you do exercise science there. You run track and cross country. So that's got to be like you're running year round. Like,
yeah.
What was the typical workload for miles in a week that you were doing at that time? Because in high school, I always joked like you'd go do cross country and then you go home and run 7 more miles on the treadmill. Like, what was the difference in workload from high school versus college?
So workload was a little more volume, but the intensity wasn't all that different. But then with classes and all, I mean, I feel like it was a pretty good balance. I never felt overwhelmed, or like when I first got to Central and started training with the guys and doing races and whatnot. My biggest downfall, my greatest, a lot of people would say, oh, Isaac's just very hardworking. That's a characteristic that a lot of people have, I guess, described for me emulating. But I learned pretty quickly at Central that attribute could also be taken too far and become a detriment. So like my freshman year, I came in guns blazing, like doing really well. Led the team most of the year. Which again that's another thing that I'll touch on. But then as the year went on, it was I felt something that I had never experienced before, which was just fatigue. Like I just felt exhausted. Like everything seemed super hard. Or like even my day to day, like to get up to, it wasn't sick or anything. It was just, this little thing you learn about in exercise science called overtraining. It's a phenomenon or whatever. So that was always something that I never quite, quote unquote, figured out during my time at Central. I would go through bouts where I'd have it, but I could never, I always struggled with the discipline of knowing when to rest. Marty Dean, who was a parent of one of my teammates in high school, would always tell me, you taking Sundays off? And I'm like, no. Just the whole mindset of,
rest is okay.
Exactly, yeah. And I always struggled with that. Something that I'm better at now. I kind of kick myself having no longer been in, or no longer being in competitive sports. It's like, well, it would have been nice to, be putting that into play at that time. But in a way, and my fiance might say, well, you still struggle with resting, which she's probably not totally inaccurate, but.
Sure. While you're going through this like college training situation, what was kind of the changes you made to that, like overtraining? Because I can understand that too, where when you're 18, you're invincible, and then you start. Even at 21, 22, like your body's starting to be like, hey, stop doing this to me. I need a break.
Right. Yeah. I think I fell into, well, for one, it was the first time I had teammates who day in and day, like they were of the same skill set. I mean, in running, I suppose
they were as good as you or better.
Exactly.
Than you.
Yeah. So, and that was something that I was very I welcome that, and those guys are so awesome. And it was just cool to every practice was, I don't know. I had the experience of not having to push myself by myself, where in high school that was always where I was in the running regard.
Because like I said, you would literally do like a 12-mile run for a practice and then go home and run more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so in college, well, so this will tie back in, but I'm going to go on a little tangent here. So fast forward to after graduate school, I coached a season of track with the Fort Madison School District. And in my interview, Chad Hannum, Mike Schneider, and Brian Mendez, my old high school coach, were doing the interview with me along with the athletic director. And I remember one of the things that one of the guys brought up was, well, how would you handle a kid whose motivation is different? How do you motivate kids or whatever? Because with you, like your motive was to win and be the best. And when he said, I didn't speak on it, but when he said that, I stopped short of saying that wasn't my motive. Ever really. I mean, to like basketball, to play. I mean, yes, it's there, but my first motive was I just enjoyed it. Like to run at practice, do a track workout, and then go home and run some more. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't do it to get better, but it was also I just did it because I just liked that experience of going for a run and pushing or not pushing in you're doing a mind thing too at the same time. So, and that was something. So now that conversation and that interview, go back to college, and kind of a switch from high school to college was, in high school, I felt like I could, all of my days, what was in my head was just I'm doing this because I want to, period. And whatever comes out of it, like whether I win state or have a good race or set a PR, those are, I mean, I want those things, but they're more of a peripheral gain, I guess. Like what I really wanted was just to see today, what can I do? And then in college, I feel like the switch was, to your question of the overtraining and how you deal with that, is the switch became, I fell into the comparing yourself to others. And so like Eli and Cole, some of the better runners on my team, instead of me doing the things that I had done that made me successful, I started looking at what they did, and because they had success and they were good runners. And I lost sight of myself in that transition and during my time in college. And I think that played into like more overtraining and second guessing. And I just remember in high school, I would step to the line, I would toe the line, and you're always nervous, right? But like I towed the line and I genuinely wanted to be there. I was happy to be about to do a race. And in college, I would step to the line and I was nervous just like I was in high school, but it was a total different. The same things were happening in my body as far as like it getting ready, but in my mind, I was scared. Like I wasn't excited to go and run. I was scared to go and run. And I think a lot of that was just the self-doubt and not consciously putting it together, but preparing in ways that I wasn't sure if they worked or not. I mean, they worked for someone else, but they didn't work for me. Like
preparing your mindset to run.
Right.
And compete at the highest level you could.
Yeah. And physically, I always tended to in high school, I like to be, I don't know where I heard, but like an all-around athlete. So like I like to, I mean, I was never a great big guy, but I would say stronger than the average runner, I guess. Part of that was, basketball and soccer, wanting to be able to not be thrown around and whatnot. And so seeing other teammates where they didn't do those things, I guess the moral of the story, or what I learned in that, was what became conscious to me was, wow, I didn't do me, which, again, going back to like Allen Iverson, he got all sorts of critique. He was a gangster, a thug in the NBA, and he's not very efficient, and he's too small, and he's got the tattoos. I remember when I first was saying like, oh, that's my favorite player, and my parents were like, why? And they heard him talk, and they're like, he sounds stupid. And not that I didn't agree with those things. It's like, yeah, but like the thing that I like about him is he was very, I'm just doing me, right? Like, and I have, he always had a great respect for his teammates, and didn't wish that he had a different teammate or what, like, just so.
People didn't like him just being authentically himself.
Exactly.
Even if it is a gangster from Philly that's got tattoos.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, and we all pass judgments, how I do it all the time. But just to know, when that was my, and I still struggle with it. I was having a conversation with my brother months ago. We were just sitting down after work having some beers, and I said, one of the things that I still struggle with, or like I have a quick temper at times, and I think is because I haven't been able to forgive myself or let go of the fact that I wasn't, again, another cliche thing, but quite honestly, true to myself during my time in college as far as how I approach my day, and that's no one's, like, I'm not putting, it's definitely, there's no blame there on teammates or coach. Like, I made those decisions.
Were the changes just you stopped training for the sake of training, or you, like, what were the things that made it so different for
so
you?
I think the difference became what became the forefront of my motivation, what I thought was why I was doing it, or what was placed in front of me, which was to be an All-American, to run, you'll be one of the best central runners in the history of the school, and like run with Eli and Cole, and if you do that, you'll be an All-American. You'll have like those things were talked about more so than like in high school. It was honestly, I think what helped was Mendez just had. He was like, well, the dude just takes care of whatever. Like, in his mind, he's like, he's going above and beyond. But for me, it was just, I'm just doing what I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Here's the team standard. Yours was up here,
right?
But you weren't doing it to like spite the coaches of the team. You're just like, this is where I operate. This is what I'm doing to be the best runner I can be.
Right. And so, yeah, exactly. And so in college, that standard, it was high for everyone. You're at a higher level, so everyone's got high standards. But that standard wasn't mine anymore. Like, I adopted 5 different standards or ways of doing something, and it just had me lost. Again, people, if you look at my record or numbers, accolades as a college runner, they'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about? You had a very successful career." But back to my prior comment of how you define success, and like in college, the numbers thing, yes, successful in both high school and college. You could say numbers wise it was successful, but from an enjoyment, a piece, if you will, of experience, I would say college was not. I didn't have success in that, or as consistent of success. I can remember like my later years, junior and senior year at Central, it was really hard to admit the thought that I might actually not want to go on a run. Like, it was so foreign to me to get done with the day or to be going to practice the next day. And I mean, like in high school, there were times it's like, I don't really want to, but like I don't want to because I'm sore or I'm tired. But there was still like, yeah, but I'm still going to do it. Like, cause I do want to. Where in college it was, I'm sore or I'm tired.
It's like this, I don't want to be there.
The self-talk
I don't want to be here
from
today.
I want to be there, regardless of scenario, circumstances, how I'm feeling, to I have to do this regardless of, and that it's a total. I think anyone could relate to that type of, differentiation and self-talk of if you're able to tell yourself that I want to do this despite what's going on, versus you're in a situation even where you can say you're not in the greatest circumstance, but your mindset is I want to, versus you're in a great circumstance, but your self-talk is I have to. The I want to is always going to be more powerful.
Yeah. I totally connect with that because, like, when I was going to college, I was considering doing baseball. And I had to really sit down and think about it for a long time of, like, this is a 9-month-a-year commitment. You're getting no money. Like, do you want to do this anymore? Like, is it for the love of the game or whatnot? And I think that was a big thing was, like, you start running those dialogues in your brain of, like, when it's late in the spring and it's cold, or early in the spring it's freaking cold and you're playing this game and you're like not even on the field, but it's like, do you want to be there? Do you find the enjoyment there? So I think you just have to have those tough conversations. Tying it into, I know we talked in Rachel's interview about you guys losing your father. Mm-hmm. You were in college at this time, right?
When he passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about how his passing influenced your running career. Did it motivate you to want to run more? Did you use it as a coping mechanism? Was it like I don't even want to go to practice because I'm like, I don't feel like running today because I'm feeling sad or upset? Like, tell me a little bit about how that influenced your athletic career.
So Dad got sick. Mom will say he got sick back in 6th grade, like when we were in 6th grade. And when people hear that, they're like, seriously? That long? It's like, well, she's his wife.
Start noticing.
So she's going to notice. I mean, she knows him probably better than anyone else. So she's going to notice little things. But it would have been my freshman year, high school. There were, it's an interesting thing. But have you ever seen the movie The Crazies?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember at that point, he was doing odd things. This might, like, someone would throw something away and he would pull it back out of the trash, like a chicken leg or something, and start eating it. It's like just, bizarre stuff.
Yeah. Like I think Rachel had mentioned, like he was making food like raw chicken and just pull it out and start eating like raw chicken. Like, Dad, like you're going to get sick. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what his, disease was. It more or less deteriorated his judgment skills.
Yeah.
But I remember there was freshman year, there was an experience where he, for the first time, and Rachel may have mentioned this too, there's something about his eyes that just were different, off. It kind of looked like, I had recently seen the movie, so I guess it was primed in my head a little bit, but it reminded me of the zombies or whatever on the movie, where just their eyes, where it just seemed like it was kind of soulless in a way.
Yeah. And
that scared the shit out of me when I saw that. And he had done something weird or whatever, but I remember going to my room crying and my mom following me in, and she's, comforting me. And Dad comes in and he says, I don't know what I did. And he's crying, which was odd too, because I'd only seen my dad cry once in his entire life when his dad passed away. But he was crying and he said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm sorry. And that moment was like bawled my eyes out. And it was the beginning of the whole, I forget who the guy is, but that process, denial, anger, bargaining, yada yada.
Yep.
So, but I don't know what it was. I mean, I do in a way when people have asked before, when I've, get to know me or I tell the story. And I always say, well, for me, I think a big reason why I was able to come to peace or terms with my dad's situation quickly was because going all the way back to like family being like a big piece of, I just knew that he loved me. Like I had absolutely no doubts that the guy loved me. I loved him, and just lots and lots of love. So for him to be gone, there wasn't that, I don't know, like I've always told myself, 10 out of 10 people die. As far as I know, no one lives forever. So unfortunate the circumstances, but I'd rather have known my dad as he was for 20 years of my life versus, I don't know, he's a drug addict or he's a drunk or he's abusive for 80 years of his life. Like it's again,
rather have a good time than a long time type of thing.
Exactly.
Like, make the most of it while you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know just in your experience, when he passed away, what were some of the things that you took from that experience, kind of seeing your family kind of rally together and the hardship of, it wasn't a quick disease. It took years and years to kind of, come to the end there. Uh-huh. What were some things you learned about yourself in that process of coming out the other end and learning things about yourself in that process?
Yeah. I would say in general, when someone passes, you talk about all the good things, right? My dad was, I'm sure, not a perfect man. But a lot of what's talked about was his success with his welding and manufacturing business. And I know that was he was. People always had good things to say about him in that regard. But when I thought of my dad and like through that process, it was more, what I took from it was the father and husband he was, community member, a friend. I'm sure you remember his cackly laugh.
That's all I think about.
Yeah.
I was even going, smack me on the back, and I'd about fall over, and you're like, hey, like just over the top boisterous personality.
Yeah.
And every time you'd come home from a long day, he'd still have that energy, like the never ending, never quit energy. So
not to make it weird, but I would pay that compliment to you. Like you remind me of a person that is similar in that regard. Like has a upbeat personality regardless of what's going on and whatnot. And that's just, I don't know, when I think of like, when, people ask, well, what do you want to give before you leave the world and that sort of thing. Yes, he gave people a service and a product in a business sense. But I think he also, again, like he had his times. We would get yelled at, we'd get spanked and all that stuff, but he just was happy. Like he just seemed like he was always that whole life's too short to stew on things. Like I feel like he emulated that, and so a lot of that long span that we had, where he slowly deteriorated. It was those sorts of memories, conversations that you'd have. At times it was like because it was right in front of you, all the bad, right? Like, this is not my father. He looks incredibly ill. I don't even want to know what's going through his head or where because he seemed to be conscious of there was something wrong, but he had no idea what the hell it was, which would be a scary reality to be living. Mm-hmm. But like I remember his funeral was another time where I really just bawled my eyes out, but it was a good just experience to process things.
Sure.
But those lessons, like there's just a shit ton of people there, so it's like, okay, these people are showing up for something, so what? Why? Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing is he must have had enough of an impact on them that there's that want to versus have to mindset, that they wanted to be there to remember him. So it's not like a motive to, okay, how many people can I get at my funeral, when I die, but just because I mean, I guess I shouldn't put words into his mouth or assume things, but I would bet that was not his aim. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to see how many people I can get at my funeral or whatever.
It speaks to the impact, though.
Right.
You don't even realize how many people you touch until you're gone, and then it's like there's a freaking line down the street, of all the people that. I think of like when Jesse Ross passed away in high school. It's like the whole freaking town showed up at the funeral. It's like, did he know how many people he was touching in his life as a 17-year-old? Like, you don't know. So it's kind of interesting. Like, just make a big impact and do it that way.
For sure.
So with that going on, how did that affect your college athletic performance? I mean, you ended up going on to grad school afterwards, but did you end up taking a season off? Did you just play through it? What happened after that?
So honestly, my dad and his whole situation, I would say athletically didn't have much of. They weren't as correlated as you might think, like have that much of pull on each other. To your question earlier of whether you coped or what, I would say, I mean, sports in general were just a place for me to being in my own little arena, right? But I would say my move to pursue sports psychology in grad school was more so ignited from my specific to my college running experience and the struggles I had there. That being said, all of the lessons learned from my dad's passing and that whole experience were definitely always. They've followed me, from that time to this day, and have. I mean, it's played a role, in just kind of how I see things. I'm sure how I studied at graduate school, how I saw things. But yeah, I can't say athletically that his illness had a positive or negative effect on things.
Sure. No, that's fair. So you go to grad school for sports psychology. What was kind of the vision for your career when you were in grad school? Like, were you wanting to be a sports agent? Were you wanting to work with athletes in the big city? Like, what was kind of your vision when you went into that career path?
So my thinking was probably pretty selfishly driven in that I wonder if I could have had one of my vision of a mental performance consultant while I was in college. Like if a person like that was on staff, so that way I could talk to him, because that's where I feel like I lacked. I lacked the mental training to get, just like you need a better jump shot. So you can shoot all day, but if you're not using the right form, or there could be better form, or what, that's what a coach is for. So basically, just a mental coach was kind of my vision for things, and to be able to, again, probably in a more selfish aim, figure out what the hell was going on with me in the first place. Before I go trying to coach someone else, I should probably, align some things for myself first. So that was the vision there, I guess, was just to be able to be that perspective to give for anyone who sought it out.
Sure. Yeah, because I know when you had graduated, you'd moved back home and it started coaching, doing some consulting, some helping some different students and stuff like that. Because that's kind of when we got reconnected more, because you had some questions about the business stuff, and I always give out free advice. It's always a fun time. So I just had another business owner on Saturday that just started, and the same thing. They were buzzing my phone all day about hey, what do you do with this? And I'm like, I'll talk all day.
Yeah, sure.
So when you kind of went down that path, what was your experience like starting a business when you decided to do that and kind of approach the coaching side and not just be like an assistant coach, but try to help people with the athletic mindset a little bit?
Yeah. So, and it was talked about in our graduate program. It at the time, it's definitely more common now, but at the time, the sports psychology world was buzzing, I guess, or pretty trendy in a way. So it was a big barrier, especially small town Iowa, was not getting them to see the value, but just even before that, like, what is it? Like, explaining what it is, how it works, all that. Like, before you even, like, try to say, like, hey, this would be good for, it's like, well, what the hell, what is it? So I had some coaches who were very, like a Derek Doherty. He's just a sponge when it comes to learning different things. Whether he applies them or not, I feel like he's just a big-time learner. But some coaches who grabbed onto it, others that were like, no, and that, you know, that for anything, like, I don't know, Under Armour salesman comes by, hey, I got whatever, and you're like, some are like, oh yeah, we need that, and others, no, we've already got a contract with Nike or Puma or whatever. So, early on, my time doing the consulting and coaching, I kind of paired the two a little bit, and I think that helped to. I mean, that's what it is. It is just it's not like we're gonna stand over here and do like mental jumping jacks, you know, sort of thing. But like a football kicker, place kicker, just taking them through. You know, you got something. I mean, you're doing something with your body as you're kicking the ball, right? But what's going on inside your head, in between your ears, it plays a little bit of a role in whether or not you make how that experience goes for you. So
Sure.
Those sorts of things. So
yeah, and I think it's interesting too, depending on the sport, because I think of like, for myself, I'd have times where I'd psych myself out of a play so many times where it's like you've caught this ball a million times, and then now the crowd's there, the band's there, everyone's there watching, and then you just like choke, you know?
Right.
Or you hit that baseball a million times, and then you're getting baseball. I feel like it's a huge sport that people have mental breaks. There's a name for it. I can't remember in the pros. Yeah, the yips, where it's like you could be a 400 batting average hitter, and then all of a sudden you just wake up and now you can't you can hit a softball to save your life. Like, it's whatever it is. So it's interesting, like, how it plays in there. But I would be interested to see like how that service would play in a bigger metro area where there's people that are more progressive thinking, or that want to have the budget and staff, but also the interest in wanting to do it. Because I think there's a potential that it could definitely be something bigger, in a bigger, like in LA or Chicago or New York or something.
For sure. Yeah. And there's like in those places, there are high schools that have a mental performance coach on staff. Which here you kind of laugh at the thought, like, okay, they hardly have enough, like, small town Iowa, southeast Iowa. The athletic trainers are hard to be able to, just because there's not enough, right? So then you have that, and then you play in, like, the funding for it. So it all makes sense why that in that environment is slow or rather non-existent. But yes, I would agree. I would say that there's definitely a bigger opportunity because of the funds available, the demand for it.
Sure.
So
well, and then you have to become a salesman, like you said, and your degree. You have a master's in sports psychology, not sales and business and marketing and all that. It's like this whole new skill set of like, well, now I got to like figure out, what do the coaches want? What would the funding need? Where'd that come from? Like, you just have to kind of figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
As you became a coach and helping athletes, what's one thing that you learned from the kids, from helping them now being on the other side of it, where you were an athlete, you're going through your journey, you're researching and doing all the stuff, and then you come back and you start being on the other side, you're holding the whistle this time. What was the thing, one thing that you learned from that experience?
I think one of the biggest things that I got fairly right off the bat was what I think is the misconception that kids don't care, and that they just don't want to listen to you as a coach or a parent. And I would say it's not well, you just must have got a good group of kids, because I coached an array of kids, and I feel like they were just, I don't know. That was one thing that stuck, because I admittedly kind of went into it with a little bit of that priming in my head, or this idea of the world and how it worked, coach to athlete. And what I mean, in my studying training as a mental performance coach, definitely, 100%, it made me and has made me a better coach, person, whatever. But in a sports context specifically, I come to practice, I don't say armed, but with that knowledge in the back of my head, and then when I notice, like, oh, I'm putting this reality into play. When, well, wait a second, is that actually really what's happening, or am I creating this reality, and then it's pushing other people to shift to that or resist it? And so basically, just an awareness of how much am I influencing? Because you always are. No, whether you're a coach or an athlete, you're the best athlete, the worst athlete, you're always influencing. Doesn't mean you have control, but you're always influencing. And so I think that was one of the biggest things, being on the other side, was just humbling in a way to see, like, wow, these kids, they do care a lot. It just might not be exactly how you, the coach, might want them to. And that was one part that I really did enjoy about coaching. Like, they didn't have the most. We as a team, the specific athletes that I coach, like on the track team, the middle distance and distance guys, we may not have had that. Again, the two successes, or different ways to view it. The on paper success, but one thing that I was pretty excited about was the guys at the end of the season. It was that want to. Like, they all had the mindset of want to. Other guys on the team or on other teams probably laugh at them when they're saying, "Oh, we're going to run under 210 for our 800 or whatever." Like, Jesus, yeah, right, you'll never. But to me, because you were running 245s earlier, like, how are you going to? And that, it's unfortunate, but it's part of things. But for them to say those things, and to me, in my experience, like, be, I don't know, they meant it. They were genuine with it.
Yeah.
That was a huge win for me, I guess. If I were to check off, was that a successful season? Yes or no. Those are your only two options. I would say yes.
Sure. When I think about my own athletic experience, like football specifically, we had such a terrible run with our season. We lost every year, all the time. And you'd ask McGackey or Troxler or some of these guys that were just pulling their hair out, if they had any hair left at the end of the season, of like
pulling out their beards.
Yeah, is this worth coming back next year, and that type of thing. And I think for me, it was like high school athletics were interesting because, to your point earlier, like, I was definitely like a systems guy. Like, I'd find a spot, like a role that I could play in any sport. And it's like, just try and do everything you could to like play, be a good teammate, help aid the team to win. It was never like a Caitlin Clark or Tiger Woods situation where you're just like the star athlete. But I think that teaches you a lot about life, though, because I feel like those people that are those A+ athletes, they go out in the world and then they realize no one cares about them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's this whole identity crisis of like, all I've ever been is this good athlete, and who am I now? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big piece of it too, is like arming people with the mental ability to like overcome challenges, to work hard, and maybe not get public acknowledgement of it, but you're working hard. Right. Like, I know my favorite award I ever got in high school was the Iron Hound Award, which was like, I never missed one weightlifting session for my sophomore through senior year. Like, every single day in the off season I was there, like, I was putting the work in. So the fact that it came to game time in some of my sports and it didn't necessarily translate. Right. It translated, like you said, between the years though, because it arms you with the fortitude and the things to do, like do other things in your life. So I think that's a big piece of it. So fast forwarding to current day, you were coaching for a while. Tell me how you got in the real estate business and what prompted you to leave sports psychology and coaching and focus on that full time.
So my mom's brother, Ross Hager, during my winters and summers at both Central and Mankato, undergrad and grad school. One summer I'm sitting on the couch and he calls me up. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing. Sitting on the couch."
Sit on the couch eating a banana.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to change your life.
It probably was.
This is the source of all of Isaac's changing of his life here. I was on the couch eating a banana.
I got to remember that.
And then Jesus walked in the door and said, "Come with me." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is happening."
But he goes, "Hey, I'm pulling some bushes out of this lady's yard. And then she wants me to build a deck. Can you help?" Sure, I'm not doing anything. So I drive up there, do that. End of the day, he goes, "What are you doing this summer?" I'm like, "Nothing. I don't know." He's like, "You want a job?" So at that time, he was doing remodels. His quick history, he was he would say shitbag of a kid.
I like him already.
He was
Ross Hager. I'm a shitbag of a kid. Oh, nice to meet you.
So he was that. So he was like, "Well, I'm going to do the military thing because I need straightened out." So he did the military for a number of years, toured in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then he actually went into corrections as a civilian again. Story there, that type of work wasn't for him, so he stopped doing that and went into remodeling. And why he went into remodeling is because his time as in the Army, he was a construction worker. So he had some experience there.
Sure.
So anyway, I worked with him during the summers, like my breaks from college, and then graduated in the spring of 2019 from grad school. Worked with him that whole year. Come March, COVID 2022 or 2020. He moved more into woodworking, and I remained. I mean, I was like, "Oh, I need something to bring in an income," and I had gathered some skills. I felt a little more confident in what I was doing, and I enjoyed the work as well. So that's where I kind of started Clement Contracting, my home renovation business now. And during that time too, February of 2020 was also when I met my soon-to-be wife, Courtney, and she definitely for the better. It's always for the better. She just changed a lot of like how I saw the world. And it was a little bit of like a full circle moment because at the time when we first met, she was in Des Moines actually, and she worked at Wells Fargo in the mortgage department. So I had contacted her. We went on a date here in Des Moines. I was still back in Southeast Iowa, and I was smitten. So I was like, I need to see her again, even if it means moving up to Des Moines. So at the time, I was telling Ross, like, "Hey, met this girl. Just so you know, then COVID happens. She moves back home, living with her parents, and although, COVID had hit its pitfalls, that year, we were able to, I don't want to say hit fast forward on the relationship as if we wanted to, move through things, but we were just able to really get to know each other more intimately in a shorter amount of time had there not been the distance, right?
Sure.
But the full circle, because at the time, at that time, COVID and whatnot, I was still sports psych, but doing remodel work for an income.
With the dream of like, this is just to make some money until I can get a contract locked in and do this full time.
Yep, exactly. And then I thought of my dad and how he, to me in my world, what he, just what he did for my mom. Like I feel like their relationship, and a lot of people say, and Mom would say, she's like, I don't mean anything against you kids, but I was Dad's number one priority. And that's how I approach. I mean, I take a lot of things significant other relationship for my dad, I would say. But so when Courtney became a part of my life and the biggest part rather quickly, I saw I'm going to be a husband and a father. That's my intentions, to be a husband and a father. So providing, protecting, that became the new I want to do that. I want to provide and protect for her and our family.
And what's the most realistic, quickest, secure way to do that?
Exactly.
Create a new industry in a town that probably won't have it. I mean, you could.
Right.
It's an option, but I get like the things get real really quick. Your perspectives change, your priorities change.
Yeah. So I'm still able to get my, because obviously you have the conversation with yourself. Jesus Christ, I spent 6 years doing this and then didn't, whatever.
Now you're a really smart contractor.
Yeah, and I've had like people from the Fort Madison area who are like, man, did you ever think you'd be doing? I was, nope, I never thought I'd be swinging a hammer. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where like, well, I think of like a relationship. Like two people are in a relationship for a really long time, and even though one or both of them know this isn't going to work, like no matter how much we've put all this time into it, so it'd be all for nothing. That's kind of how I viewed and still do view the schooling, the sports way of like all things led me to where I am now.
Do you feel like it was a waste of time?
No.
Or do you feel like it helped you in some other ways?
No, I mean, I think it helped me in all the ways. And it's certainly, I don't view it as like people say, oh, you're a contractor now. Sure, but I don't know. It could change next year. I'm not set, I guess, on anything. And if an opportunity were to present itself in the sports psych realm, I'm not going to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm doing the contracting thing now, so I'm saying no to all those opportunities or whatever. So I guess the way that I see it, the two different P words is what I've kind of put in my head: passion versus purpose. And the purpose thing being the providing, and what that is what I'm passionate about too. So it does accomplish both, to do the contracting and the real estate thing. And the real estate was an Uncle Ross thing too.
Like buying, fixing and flipping, rental property, all that stuff. Yeah. Mailbox money as
money. Yeah.
As Ross always calls it.
Which, yeah, he's like mailbox money. And then we both kind of laugh like, yeah, because that's all it is. If you've got enough upfront money, like capital to pay someone to make it truly mailbox money, he and I aren't in a position to do that at this point in time. So like anything else, same thing like this. Like, I feel like if someone watches videos or you see something and you go, oh, I want to do that, or that'd be so cool, when it's quite literally, you were doing this back in your Simpson days, right? So, yeah. There's a lot more that goes into the thing, whatever it is, than just, oh, yep, I did this for a year and all you got to do is XYZ, do this paperwork, fill out this thing, do whatever, and you're done.
Because with your business too, it's like you're doing, how would you summarize because you're in the Burlington market, so Southeast Iowa,
yep,
taking rundown houses and like one man's trash, another man's treasure type of thing. Tell me a little bit about the types of homes you buy. Are you fixing them, flipping them? Are you fixing them up and then renting them out? Like, what's kind of your approach to the real estate market? Yeah.
So at the moment, it's my approach is a buy and hold, to rent. So I look for homes that are pretty run down and fix them up, to a point to well, yeah, someone can live comfortably in it. Kind of and my philosophy with it is build it for who you would want in it. Like make it attract what it is in a way. I mean, the idea is to make money, right? That's how a business continues to be a business. But also in that regard, like just to be able to provide a home for people, which when you're renting, when you're a landlord or an investor of rental properties, there's that service provided too.
Yeah.
Because you could provide a really great like structure of living, but things happen, right? HVAC went out, we got a leak, floor's squeaky, whatever the case. Raccoon got in the house somehow. And there are landlords who just wave their hand and it's not my problem. So that, I guess that's kind of the approach that, and I've definitely adopted, I would say, a lot of that from my uncle, and kind of how he does things too. So
how many properties do you have in your portfolio now? Are you renting out houses? I know you've started a couple years ago, but like how many do you have now, and what's kind of the vision for it?
So we've got 4 now, and the vision, I mean, like pie in the sky would be to rebuild neighborhoods and kind of attract just more quality homes. I'm not necessarily speaking of like new construction homes or big fancy whatever. I'm just thinking like
take the rundown neighborhood and make it a place people want to live again.
That can be affordable but it's still of quality. Yes, and a place that appeals.
Sure. Well, I think what people don't realize too with some of this rental stuff, because Paige and I have looked into this and we've had real estate folks on to talk about this before, but it's like you could cash flow $500 a month on a house.
Sure.
And that's $6,000 in a year. But if in December, then the heater goes out, $6,000 just immediately went right back in the house. So I think one, I mean, talk to me, like, there's obviously tax benefit too of that, but then what's like, if you hold it, buy it, are you trying to break even? Are you trying to turn a profit from multiple houses so then that's your residual income? Yeah. Or is it a mixture of the two?
Yeah. So at the moment, because I'm in early stages, I'm very picky about my investment. So if it's not a quote unquote home run and I've got like criteria for a home run, a triple, a double, like what those things are.
Love it.
Then I'm not investing. The again, as time goes on, the idea being that I'll invest in a double. But right now the idea is to set a basis so that way if you've got a $500 unit that you're renting out and you make that $6,000 over a year and the HVAC goes out, that you haven't drained all of what you've made. So
you're looking for a higher margin property.
Yep. To start for a basis.
Because some of these houses, I mean, dude, you sent me some of these listings. I'm like, they sell a house for $30,000 still in 2024. You can buy, like, you see these, like, people are spending that on rent for a 1-bedroom in New York City, but you can buy a whole freaking house for that in Podunk, Iowa.
You might not be able to live in that $30,000 house.
Well, you and the coons and the foxes and
that's true.
You and Sleeping Beauty and all of her animals,
right?
Because I'm assuming you like put a bunch of money back into it, and then do you do like the Burr method where you're buying like a junker and fixing it up and
then doing a cash out refi to pull those funds and we do a variation of how much you want to keep in the property, how much you want out. It just kind of depends on what we've got on the horizon for the next investment. But yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, we're still early in that world, but I'm more one to take things like that a little slower to. I forget if it was who was the Sports Center broadcast, Stuart Scott, and there was another one, Craig Sager, I think. They both passed away from cancer.
Yep.
And I can't remember which one said it, but one of them said something along the line. It was like a time quote, like life is how you spend your time or something like that. And I think about that a lot when I think of if I'm wasting time, or time is money. Like, you need to invest in your 401s or your retirement accounts early. And it makes sense. You do the math and everything on those, and it's like, oh, yeah, that is a pretty significant difference. But just like in my mind, it's like, well, if the slower that things happen to start, the idea is that it'll have a compounding effect later. So, because I've heard stories of other investors where they just they were able to, if they were able to get accepted on a loan, they just went with it and they just kept going. Then they found themselves in a place where I've defaulted on all my loans because and now you're starting back at the starting line or even further back than where you would have been if you would have just maybe planned and learned a little more at the forefront. So
it sounds like you're a little bit more risk averse than some people because like you said, I mean we're gonna have a guy on here later in a couple weeks when he's back from vacation. It's he does rental income housing. He has like 12 properties. Yep. Like making $30,000-$40,000 a month in cash flow. Yep. But he's probably, I mean, we haven't talked to him yet, but very over leveraged, like $3 to $4 million in loan amounts. Yep. So you just hope no bank calls those loans. You just hope you don't default. But if that's the type of lifestyle you want, then that's one thing. But I think to your point, if you have 4 properties now and then you keep adding 1 or 2 a year, eventually you're going to have 20 doors, 30 doors. Right. Even if you're only making $200 a month cash flow on 20 properties, it's like, oh, that's like, you could live on that, Right. So I think that's a turn to it as well. Do you do other stuff outside of building on your home? So you mentioned, do you contract work? Do you do like remodels on other people's homes to pay the bills, or is this your main thing? Yeah. So I would say home renovations for customers is the main source of income. And then the real estate side of things, building that portfolio up slowly is the weekend gig, the side gig. But I mean, it works pretty nice to have the skills and knowledge that a carpenter or a contractor might need, because I don't have to pay someone for. But then again, time is money, right? So I hire out subs like plumbers, electricians, and HVAC guys. The things that I don't do for the real estate side. But the home renovations for customers is the primary for income. And it's nice because the whole time, every job, I learn more and more, and so I can just apply it to the real estate world or back. I'm working on my own property and go, I haven't done this before, on someone's house, but I'll take the weekend or a few weekends to figure it out, and then okay, I've had that experience, so I can apply it to, if I wanted to, if a customer had a situation similar to that, I would feel comfortable being able to do that for someone. So sure. No, I love that. We can take a pause from your story for a second. We're going to do a little thing we call the lightning round. So I'm going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions, just whatever answer comes to the top of your head. We can talk longer about each one if you want. First thing, favorite sport to watch? Basketball. Favorite sport to coach? Probably basketball. Yeah, I'll go quick. Basketball. Okay, cool. Yep. Why basketball? Like, what do you like watching it for? I would say, I think just the game in general, the fact that it's fast paced and every player has to play, quote unquote, both sides of the ball, and just it's got like a mixture of all the skills, knowledge, athleticism, and it's funny because we had my family and I over the holidays were asking the debate, what's the most athletic sport, or what would be the best athlete wear? So people might say, oh, it might, whatever, different things. But for me, and again, I'm biased of my prior interest in basketball, but I don't know. A lot of different angles to look at that game, and then recently watching the Super Bowl, I was
was thinking about that and like, wow, never played that sport, right? But when I think about, like, I was watching McCaffrey and Purdy and Kittle sitting on the sideline, you talk about a team sport where you've got 3 of your best players who can't be on the field, and they're relying on 11 other guys or whoever else to. Yep. So it is.
Well, then you look at Bosa, like the specimen that man is. He has no neck. He just like all traps, and the dude could run over a freaking freight train. Like, but then you give him a ball, throw a spiral, can't do it. Like everyone has such specific interests. So that's a huge piece of it. Biggest mental barrier that most athletes had that you had an experience with when you were learning about sports psychology? Like what's the biggest thing that most people couldn't overcome on the mental side?
I would say confidence, to put plainly. And that goes in a whole bunch of different, or can go in a bunch of different directions. But I would say confidence, and then usually the sub or the more the deeper lying piece of confidence is focus, where we put our attention.
Love it. Favorite dessert now that you're no longer counting calories?
Ice cream.
What kind of ice cream? What's your favorite?
Homemade vanilla.
Okay.
Yep. Court does a good job. Her and her mom makes them pretty good.
I was going to say, you guys going to halls? Are you going to putt around, or are you going anywhere in Fort Madison? Or
usually the homemade is the. I mean, halls is a good spot.
One of the benefits of being in Des Moines is the access to desserts.
Yeah.
Every single week we've got dessert on our countertop. It's like Paige will get a crumble cookie, or we'll get ice cream, or she'll go get donuts. Like when she was pregnant, all she wanted was freaking Krispy Kreme. So we went and got Krispy Kreme for dinner one night because that's all she wanted. So anyway, biggest or favorite thing you like to splurge with money on? Like is it like business class when you fly? Is it designer clothes? Like what's the thing that you feel comfortable spending
a little more money on?
Yeah.
Probably my tools. I'm a Milwaukee snob. So yeah.
Making sure things don't break. That's good.
Making sure things don't break. Yeah.
And it's a write-off, so it's helpful too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always good. Biggest advice to high school athletes that are running to get to the next level. What are some things they should be doing to set themselves apart or become even better than they are now?
Gaining an awareness of how you see the sport, or how, and even from a bigger perspective, how you see the world, because that's going to impact what motivates you. So gaining some more awareness of yourself in those regards, and then asking yourself what you want out of it. I'm biased in saying or speaking to this, just sticking to what works for you, because that was I think my downfall in my running career. So that may not be true for all other athletes or runners, but I think just asking yourself the reflection piece, what do you want from it? What's your view on it, and what's it mean to you, I guess, to run? So it just helps to give yourself a lay of the land, and it makes making decisions easier, because you know where the decision's coming from, because you've done that work ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So
when I think of, like, there's probably kids on your team when you're in college and in high school, it's like they're just happy to be on the team.
Exactly.
And if that's their goal, then maybe don't ride them so hard to like get their times a half of a second faster. Like, they're just happy to be here.
Right.
But then if you know a kid's goal is to play at the next level, it's like, well, then I'm going to take a super interest in you because I can help with that. I can get you to the next level.
Yep.
If you had an hour to have dinner with Allen Iverson now, what would you talk about with him?
Stories. Like if you've got a, like, not necessarily the questions of, I mean, I would be interested to know, like, what made you who you are, but I think if you could ask a person, him specifically, I think it'd be most interesting to know his obstacles and what he learned from those. I think that's always, just something to, because you hear about this. I mean, you see the successes, but to to learn how the failures, I guess, played into the successes. So
Sure, that's great. That's the end of the lightning round, so you can take a breath now. Tying it back together, I think this has been a super interesting conversation. Like your journey and everything's been interesting. We mentioned like, was college worth it, or all those types of things.
Yeah.
Looking at your life and setting the goals that you want to set, they've all changed recently. So now you've got, like you said, father, husband on the horizon,
Right.
like all the things that come with being a family man, starting this business, that type of thing. Are you satisfied, or are you happy now compared to when you were pursuing running and that was your sole focus in life? Are you happy now?
Yeah. You're saying like in a comparative sense, like the between the two.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think to have Courtney, I mean, I think is just a really big, it just gives a lot of purpose, a lot of direction, you know, when as a man, I think, you know, a lot of like Disney movies and stories, the damsel in distress and the man's the hero. I read this book called I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it was a book where the author was talking about what it means to be a girl. And one of the things that he spoke of in that book was his wife being, quote unquote, the reason for his story. And so he brought up like Disney stories of princesses and how, one way to look at it, and some people might look at it as, oh, the woman is just this damsel in distress and it's the big, strong man who saves her and that's the story. Where he said, another perspective or another way to look at it is the princess the princess is a symbol and a representation of all things good. And the man has to slay the dragon or climb the big, tall mountain or go through some sort of
conquest.
Yeah, exactly. To be worthy of protecting this, and that's where the protecting, providing thing comes from. It just gives him a lot of purpose. I mean, in a sense, like
Sure.
we're just barbarians, So I'm not saying that like all men are just big grunts or whatever, but
she's given you purpose to focus on,
100%. Yeah,
because before you were.
It was just very me. Yeah, it was just very me driven, like this running thing, and then now, like you spoke to identity, and how like a Caitlin Clark or a Tiger Woods or a Michael Jordan, like that becomes their whole. And I think to be able to balance that identity with other things of, I'm not just a runner, I'm not just a sport psychologist, I'm not just a carpenter. I can be every day and I'm not a father now or technically a husband, but I don't think that you need to have the technical name to do the things that a husband or a father would.
Sure.
But yeah, just to be able to do something outside of you and like what your world and how you see, instead of building up me as a carpenter or whatever, like I'm going to build up her and us and our family. And that's, it's just a very fulfilling thought. Yeah. Or endeavor.
Rather than being the main character of the show, it's like you're going to put the family on your back, and that's so that they can be, that's
right.
And it's commendable. It's a good thing to focus on. I connect with that as well because, things change once you become a husband, and you're like, okay, now like, this is it, and it's stuff like that. And like Paige and I had a lot of really tough conversations when early on, because we were together for 7 years before I proposed, and she was like, are you going to do this? Or we like, what are we doing here? And it's like at that point in my life, I didn't feel like I could be that person for her.
Yeah.
I was like early on in my career, I wasn't making enough money. I didn't feel like I could like confidently provide a future for her that I felt confident about, that I could look her dad in the face and be like, is this okay if I take that burden on, So I think that's part of it too, is like finding where you get in, where you fit in type of thing. But once something that's really cool. In terms of like parting advice for people that are kind of going through this journey, because your journey is kind of zigzagged.
Sure.
But it got to this point where you've reached, success in running, and then things throw you a curveball, or things have happened and then you move back home and move around. What would be your parting advice for someone that's kind of on their life journey and they're looking for that next thing, to the new identity piece? They're kind of identityless and they're out roaming around to figure it out. What would be your advice to that person to help find out who they are?
I think my time at Mankato is where I was able to. I did more reading. I read so much. I think I spent probably 80% of my waking hours. I was either reading something or I was running.
Or doing both.
Right. Yeah.
Flip.
But I think if you feel like you're zigzagging and you're like, where's the basis? I think a basis that you can create that you can always take with you and feel some sense of stability is to ask yourself, principally, how you want to be. Because not so much a title on things, like whether it's a career thing or even as a husband or a father, but even in those things, what principles do you want to emulate within those titles? Because if it changes, if you go from, I'm going to be a mental performance coach, and then I'm going to be, a runner, and then I'm a performance coach, and now a contractor, and then real estate, or who knows? I want to go into sailing after, whatever.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. You can take things like what it means to you to be disciplined, what it means to you to be balanced, to be respectful, to be accountable, to be kind, to be just because those things you can take with you in any context. It kind of makes me think of, have you ever heard of the guy Viktor Frankl? Mm-hmm. So he was a Holocaust prisoner, Nazi concentration camp at Auschwitz, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And the essence of the book was he just explained his time being a prisoner in the camp, and how he spoke to what was it that some guys or some people died 2 days in, and he made it. He was in there for years, along with some other prisoners. But he spoke to how his past experience as a doctor helped him live longer because there was more meaning. Like the prison guards found meaning in, hey, this guy's a doctor, so he's still a prisoner, he's still a Jew, but he's useful, right? But one of the in one instance in the book, there's a picture of him and some prisoners on their what were beds, and they're all like skeletons. And he said many people would look at this picture and just be disgusted or like very sorrowful. And he's like, that night actually we had one of the better tasting breads one of our best meals that we have had in a long time. So that night was an awesome night. So again, it's just another perspective thing. So for if you're zigzagging and you're feeling like you're out of control or you don't have a basis in things, parting advice, look at principles at play and what you do have control over and what you don't have control over. And I think if you can identify the things that you don't actually have absolute control over, you'll see how much easier it is to take control of things, because there's so little things that you can't control, like how you want to carry out principles or the attitude you want to have, how you want to show up for people, or yourself. So
I love that. And it's super interesting too, because again, all these experiences form you into the person you are now. So you can take that with you. Like, running doesn't necessarily make you a better contractor, but
right?
It does. It's like
sure
the discipline of like man, my legs are kind of getting sore. Like, I got to just bear through this. Or
Right.
you're out in the rain, running in the rain, and it's freezing ass cold. Now you're doing that with your job or whatever. It's like,
Yep.
you can take these mental challenges and convert it into soul power to
Right.
to achieve whatever.
Yep.
But for me to connect with that myself, I've always been really into like being like a high achiever in different areas of life, but it's always because I have a really clear North Star of like why.
Yep.
Because if you don't have that, it's like you could just be a freaking workaholic, but if you don't have a reason you're doing it, there's no motivation, then you're just like a robot, you know,
Yeah.
you're just doing it to do it. And then once the master stops snapping the whip behind you, you're just like, I want to stop. I don't want to do this anymore. But if you're the one dragging the sled and there's no one motivating, like your high school days where you're
Right.
you're out in front running ahead of everyone, you go home, you keep running because it's like, I am dedicated to this because I have this really clear vision of why I want to do this.
Yep.
I think that's a great kind of mentality for life is like,
For sure.
you set the standard because once someone else sets it for you, you lose all motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
Like you say, here's the pace.
Right.
You keep up with me. I'm
Yeah.
not like, no coach or teammates can tell me how fast I'm doing this, you know?
Right.
So I think as you've kind of got this new cadence in life with your real estate business and all this stuff, I'm very interested to see where you end up with it because now you've got a new cadence and it's like, okay, here's our pace.
Yeah.
A house a year or 2 houses a year. Like,
Yep.
give me 10 years and I'll check in with you in a decade and this is going to be, we'll blow the freaking roof off this place.
Yeah.
It's like, that'll be a cool thing to see. Like
Yeah.
once you have this new cadence. So
Yeah. Now, I think you put that pretty beautifully as far as what I would say has been a bigger piece of what's, made me in my life and how, and you can relate it to anyone, but for me, yeah, I mean, because that is what it is, again, going back to learn lessons, like picking, in this scenario, Isaac's not the fastest, right? So he's not out in front with the real estate or carpentry thing, but the idea being to not be zigzagging or anything. I'm gonna set my pace. It may not be the fastest pace. It may not be your pace. It may not be what you think would get you where you might want to go or where a person should go, but it's my pace.
absolutely.
So
well, and then if you keep that same practice of, I might be in the back of the pack at practice, but I'm going home and I'm doing 7 more
Right.
miles. Like that approach to your business will also pay dividends of
Yep.
like, I might only have 4 doors right now, but I'm working nights and weekends. I'm putting in the hours to get to the point where the front runners are kind of slowing down or easing up, and
Right.
I'm full speed ahead. And you will eventually pass those people because
Yeah.
they're not keeping up the pressure. So
Yeah.
that's super cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, we could keep going for hours and hours as we have not on a podcast, but
yeah.
for people that want to learn more about your business or anything, where would you send people to learn more about rentals or your real estate business or
Sure.
things that they could hire you to do some stuff for them?
I will admit to I am not the most social media active, but I do have a Facebook page for the contracting stuff, Clement Contracting, or you could just search my name and then, there's a little tag for the Clement Contracting site, but still early stages for real estate and whatnot. So maybe I'll send Rachel or something on that when she's got time away from her subtle impacts to make that all look pretty once it's up and rolling a little more. So
Sure. Well, if you have a dumpy house in Burlington, Iowa that you're wanting to sell for cheap, Isaac will take a look at it. So,
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on and the trip up. I really do appreciate it. And I think people have probably learned a lot through this talk. Just like, again, your life story is interesting. So I appreciate you making the trip. So.
yeah. Well, if anything, it was nice to chat with you.
Sure.
Always good to chat with you. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Well, you've made it through another episode, guys. If you made it this far in the show, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. If any questions that you have, put them in the comment section. If you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure to subscribe as well. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and we'll see you in the next episode. My name is Ryan Snaadt. It Rhymes with Odd, and you're watching and listening to Rhymes with Odd podcast. Peace.